Hello and welcome back to the Nine Sports Podcast. My name is Kathleen and I host the weekly soccer edition of our show. Last week, we introduced our new women's soccer vertical here at the Nine Sports called The Nine Soccer. If you missed it, go back and listen to my conversation with Howard Megdal. He is founder of the Nine Sports and a longtime advocate of women's soccer coverage. As for this week, our top story, or number one at the Nine, is Sam Coffey signing with Manchester City. Annie Peterson wrote about that this Soccer Monday at the Nine Sports. You can find that at THEIXSPORTS.com. Then we'll talk briefly about some other free agency moves, hear from Jaden Shaw about Gotham's preseason trip to Spain for the FIFA Women's Champions Cup. Then we'll also take a closer look at the U.S. Women's National Team roster ahead of January camp, a pair of friendlies, and the She Believes Cup. After 3 years with the Portland Thorns, Sam Coffey has signed with Manchester City on a 3.5-year deal. According to ESPN, the transfer fee was $875,000 for the 27-year-old midfielder. And this is incredible timing for Man City, who is on top of the Women's Super League table and chasing their first league title since 2016. Sam released a really emotional video on social media explaining to fans that she's always dreamed of playing professionally in Europe. She said, quote, "For as long as I've kicked a ball, I've always dreamed of playing professional soccer in Europe, and it's something I simply have to pursue. I would never forgive myself if I didn't go try." Coffey jumped into the NWSL straight out of college, where she played for Boston College and Penn State. She was the 12th overall pick, and over the next few seasons worked all the way up to being the 2025 captain for the Portland Thorns. And I just think this is a great move for her. Man City is in position to make for an extra memorable season, and why not, jump to a champion? I think this also touches on that kind of personal side that we've discussed over the last couple of weeks. The WSL is still a dream for a lot of these players, maybe less and less as the years go on, but especially for those who grew up when this league either didn't exist yet or just wasn't quite as stable. WSL obviously has the names, they have the stadiums, they have the iconic symbols that these players quite literally have grown up with on their walls, on their vision boards, however they handle that. But she also talked about the ability to challenge herself with a different kind of play. And I think that that is so valuable at this point in her career as we head into, another international cycle, as she kind of ages into that prime of her game, being able to challenge herself, being able to learn a different style, kind of force herself to adapt. I think that that just makes for such a better, well-rounded player. And I think we've seen that for years and years here in the U.S., and especially on the U.S. women's national team, where we do have so many players playing abroad, and really bringing in kind of that globalization of the game and diversifying the talent on this roster. Another big name leaving the NWSL right now is French forward Delphine Cascarino. She is leaving San Diego for London City. Not a huge surprise there. It's a move closer to home, but that is the second MVP candidate leaving the NWSL after Bia Zanerato decided to return to Brazil, leaving the Kansas City Current. Almost called him FC Kansas City. That habit dies hard. But as those kind of conversations keep going, and we still don't have an answer from Trinity Rodman, we see big names leaving, big names coming in, and especially that's going to speed up this week or over the next couple of weeks as we get closer to the season. But ESPN was reporting today, among other outlets, that a teen from Paraguay, Claudia Martinez, is intending to sign with Washington for a $950,000 transfer fee. No idea what that means for Trin. That is not necessarily bookmarked money, since that is a transfer fee. That's not direct salary, but she's going to be the first player from Paraguay and one of the league's most expensive transfers. She's been co-leading scorer of Copa America Femenina, and contracted through 2028 with a team option for 2029. So she should be a lot of fun to watch as she enters this league. And again, just brings another piece of kind of that international flair, that really young, exciting talent, to a team that has really proven that they appreciate that international mix of players. And we do have a story on that coming later this week, so stay tuned. And just a reminder, I ran through it last week, but all of our stories for now, you can go to the9sports.com. Under that soccer tab, you can go directly to the 9 Soccer, and that's where all of our soccer specific stories will be. Under Soccer Monday, you can find everything for the brilliant Annie Peterson. So stay tuned on those. Bookmark those tabs if that's helpful, and then obviously we'll still be sending out everything via social media. Defending NWSL champion Gotham is preparing to face Corinthians next week in the semifinals of the FIFA Women's Championship Cup. That match will be on the 28th. This competition is new. This is the first year of it, gathering continental champions from each federation. There's been a lot of chatter about how that's kind of been missing from the women's game, that international club piece. And so we do have a group trying to start the Club World Cup. And then we also have this FIFA Women's Champions Cup, which will be really fascinating to watch as teams ramp up for that next World Cup cycle. Gotham topped Tigres last year in the CONCACAF W Champions Cup to advance. So they're now in the semifinals. And then on the other side of the bracket, Arsenal will face the African champion, ASFAR. Let's hear from Jaden Shaw, who's been in Spain. Shout out to Gotham for sending over this short video with a couple of quotes from her.
I think preseason's going really well. We've had some really great trainings to help. Build the foundation going into this tournament and our season. And we've had a really good opponent a few days ago, and yeah, played good. There was a lot of things that we can build on and take with us into the London tournament. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the whole experience. I mean, this is the first ever championship for women's club football, so I think it'll be a really fun experience for us, just overall being part of the tournament, but also playing really high level games. I think for us, just staying focused on Corinthians and knowing that that's going to be a really competitive game and that we're going to have to come out and play really well. So I'm excited for the good games. I'm excited for the whole experience and to play in some incredible stadiums as well.
As a result of that event, the NWSL did announce when they dropped their schedules last week that the Challenge Cup between Gotham FC and the Kansas City Current, the Shield winners, will be moved to Friday, June 26th. That will be played on a neutral field in Columbus, Ohio, Scott's Miracle Grow Field, and will be shown on Prime Video. A couple other highlights from that schedule drop. There will be a league-wide competition pause from June 1st to June 28th. That includes a mandated CBA break from the 8th to the 14th, but then also works out really well with the FIFA Men's World Cup, which will be competing for a lot of those same venues that the women would be playing in. There is also going to be a rivalry week with Orlando versus Kansas City, San Diego versus Angel City, Seattle and Portland, and then Gotham and Washington. That will run from July 10th to the 15th. And then we do have dates for the semifinals. That's the 13th and the 15th of November. And then the championship will be November 21st. They have not announced a location for that, but stay tuned. They do like to announce that early in the season. The 2026 regular season will start Friday, March 13th, and all 16 clubs will be in action on opening weekend. Boston will host its first home match at Gillette Stadium, home of the New England Patriots. And then Denver will start its campaign on the road and play its first home match a couple of weeks later, but will obviously be invested on how they introduce themselves to the league. Each team's going to play 30 regular season matches, 15 home and 15 away. And we have an article on the 9 Soccer right now that breaks down all of the different spots where you can find games on TV or streaming, as well as some more details on games to watch. Obviously, there will be a lot of eyes on those Gotham and Washington games with or without Trinity. They built up kind of a nice little rivalry over the last few years. And while Gotham is away, the U.S. Women's National Team is preparing for another camp with another unique Emma Hayes roster. Given the timing, Hayes was restricted from picking up any of the NWSL champions or any Europe-based players. So this roster is missing a lot of names, but serves as another good test for this kind of wider roster pool. We also broke down this roster, and you can find all of the details there. They did add Aya Oke after an injury, and Trinity has returned to the roster, although she is listed as unaffiliated. Let's hear from Emma.
As I always say, I can only pick the players that are available. So with no European-based players, no Gotham-based players, I think this really is the last window in preparation for 27, where we will see the opportunities for so many new players. I'm not saying there won't be somebody that is in our pool of players that won't push through for 27, but I feel pretty clear about the pool of players for that. And I think she believes will be much, much closer, depending on how fit and well and healthy everyone is, than this one. But what a great opportunity. I get the chance to see, in particular, if I talk so much about the 23s, and when I speak with Heather Dyche about the impact Riley Jackson and Maddie Darlene had in camp for her, and how consistent their performances have been, or how good Ryland Turner's back end of last season was. And yes, ordinarily, if we had the European-based players or Gotham-based players, we might not see these players. But that's the opportunity that presents itself. So I'm looking forward to that part. I also think you can see where we can have consistency, we will do that. Everybody is very clear on what their role is positionally. Maybe we will certainly start to lean into what their roles become as the year pans out and we get closer to qualification. But my goal has always been the same, which is develop a larger playing pool, developing them with absolute clarity. The January camp is an opportunity to actually look at players that might have the impact for some might push into 27, but actually 28. I still have to prepare for that as well as the World Cup. And there will be ample playing time for everybody because of the stage of the season. The realities are, in game one, at least 5 players have to play 90 minutes. But I can make 6 changes. Am I going to make 6 changes in both games? 1000%, because of the time of year. So what a great opportunity for everyone in our squad to get a look in that moment. And I will definitely be using like a lot of the good references of last year's future camps and the impact that had for those players. I think that we might be sitting here next year talking about the impact it had for Maddie and Riley in a year's time, and who knows, they may be knocking on the door for the World Cup.
I honestly just love hearing from Emma. I love hearing how her brain works and her making that joke about using all of her subs. Again, it's just going to be a really interesting window to see kind of what we learn, what we see from this team, how they are using that talent. As I mentioned, Aya Oke replacing Avery Patterson. We don't really have any details there, but it'll be interesting to watch her as she has had, 2 of the biggest weeks of her life, signing with the Denver Summit FC and then getting this call up. We also have some familiar but young names: Izzy Rodriguez, Tara Rudd, Kennedy Wesley, Kate Weisner. And then we have another kind of intriguing goalkeeper battle: Claudia Dickey, Mandy McGlynn, and Jordan Silkowitz, all earning call-ups in goal. The U.S. Women's National Team is set to play on the 24th and the 27th against Paraguay. great timing to check out Paraguay's talent. And then they will also play She Believes Cup before the start of the NWSL season. That is it for me today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure that you are listening to our basketball and our hockey editions of the 9 Sports podcast. We also have Women's Sports Daily. That's your 5-minute podcast to catch up in the morning on the latest headlines in women's sports. That is on a different feed. That's Women's Sports Daily, but you should be able to find that anywhere you listen. And a little sneak peek, since I'm executive editor and know these things, but we are going to be condensing all of our social media accounts this week into the 9 Sports, just to make it a little easier to find everything in one place. So that'll be THEIXSPORTS on all the platforms where you enjoy following. As always, please send me any feedback, any ideas of what you would like to hear about on the podcast, and I will try to include those. I have some special guests lined up over the next few weeks. And as we all await an answer from Trinity, stay tuned.